And welcome back to another episode of the Chronicles of Fitness. You are with your host, Coach Kat, and today I have a very special guest with me. This is my first podcast via Zoom, so my guest with me is actually not with me. She's in Byron Bay. Her name is Maxine Shea, and she has a business / farm. And the business is called Hemp Collective. And if you can guess from the name, she has a hemp farm in the Byron region. So I'm just going to hand off onto Maxine because I think there's a lot of information and education that needs to happen around hemp. What exactly is hemp? Because I know when I say hemp, people automatically imagine a big rafter dude smoking a joint, and that's or a stoner down the park smoking bongs, which is, as far as I know, and I'm sure you guys are about to learn during this podcast, that's not what hemp is about. And so I'm going to hand over to Maxine. Welcome to the podcast, and I'm going to start you off with what is hemp?
Hi everyone, and thanks so much for having me, Kat. So hemp, or industrial hemp, is a species that's grown specifically for industrial hemp uses. So some of the products that you probably have heard of is hemp walls or building from hemp food, which is coming from your hemp seeds. It can be eaten raw or ground into hemp meal or made into hemp flour. Other things are fiber, which could be for clothing or ropes. And then you've got, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see behind me at some point, but I do have a hemp wall behind me, which we've made. And there's also other things that can be made from hemp, such as plastic and composite materials. Paper, we make hemp paper and make it into a value-added hemp product, which is we can make it into business cards or wedding invitations. It's fully sustainable and all made from Australian hemp. There's lots of different things that can be made from industrial hemp. Now, the reason why I'm saying industrial hemp is that sometimes people get confused, which is a little bit what you were saying before, Kat, around people think that hemp is something that you can smoke and you'll get high off. Well, it's not actually typically true. Hemp is a low THC plant. And then you have, I like to say that it's its cousin, which is the high THC plant, which people smoke and get stoned from. So we actually deal with hemp or industrial hemp here in the Byron region, and we make quality hemp products. So we make hemp soaps and hemp. We've just formulated a hemp shampoo bar for your hair and a hemp conditioner bar, and we've used our own hemp seed oil, which we partly used from our property that we grow hemp from, and we also substitute with Australian hemp seed oil. And so we actually make quite unique products because it's coming from our farm into our product and selling out in the Byron region. So hemp is very misconstrued, and something that I think people need to start understanding that they are very different, even though they look and sometimes can smell very similar. So yeah.
And how would you turn a plant into a physical item, such as, cloth, or, all the range of things that you just spoke about? They're so varied. I don't understand how you could turn a plant into all of that.
Sure, it's an amazing plant. I think there's around about 25,000 different uses for the industrial hemp plant. So it's a really good question. And one of the things that mainly people will know is the hemp seed. So they'll probably sprinkle it on there, which is your hemp hearts. And they'll probably sprinkle it on their breakfast, or you'll put the hemp seed oil in your smoothies. So there's a couple of components to that particular question. So when you're looking at industrial hemp, the different strains will be grown for different things. So for example, with hemp foods, you grow hemp genetic, which is actually indicative for that particular property. So if we're going to grow for seed, we're going to grow a seed strain specifically for seed. We would then grow for the seed. We'd have these beautiful hemp seeds. Actually, I could probably grab them over there. We've got, you have your hemp seed, and then the hemp seed then goes to a processing plant, and there's 2 located in Australia at this point, and the actual full seed would go to the hemp plant. It would then get squeezed. The oil would come out. And as a byproduct, you would have your protein, and then you would have your flour that would come out. So you can bake your breads and whatever else you need to with those particular products. And obviously protein would go in for anyone who's going to the gym, or if you're wanting a protein shake or whatever it needs to be. But it's an amazing food source full of omega-3, 6 and 9s, and has phenomenal health benefits. So that's just the seed and the hemp seed oil and the food side of it. Then you can actually grow a strain, which is good for, maybe as you can see behind me, is good for fiber. And the fiber is really amazing for decorticating. So it goes into this big smasher machine and it crunches it all up, and it'll create your hemp building product, or hemp hurd is what they call that. And that's an amazing property for building. You can actually get out of that, you would get huge insulative properties. It's fire resistant, mold resistant, will last you for hundreds of years, is a phenomenal building product, but it will need to go through a specific machine to be decorticated, is what they call it. It kind of sounds like it's ripping it apart, which is exactly what it's doing. So that's the building side of things. And then on the outside of the stalk of the hemp plant, you have the fiber, which the fiber is what you'll make your clothing out of. However, here in Australia, we're probably, I would say, 8 to 10 years away from having any hemp fiber clothing made in our country, and it's purely because of the cost. In China and in India and Cambodia, where you find they've been using hemp and hemp fibers for hundreds of years, they've actually nailed the system, but also they can create it very cheaply. So the fiber, or the outer, is what you can create into clothing. What we use the fiber for is we use it in our paper. So we make hemp paper here in the Byron region. And so that's just a couple of components of this specific plant that we can use there. And then what most people, the buzzword is at the moment, is medicinal cannabis is the other side of it that you can make. And that's out of the flower. So the physical, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. It's now a flower, it's a bud. And that's where you can extract your CBD from to make your medicinal cannabis product, which has no THC in it. So we're not talking about the THC here at this point. We're only talking about the CBD. So the plant is phenomenal. It can do so many things.
And what is the difference between industrial hemp, CBD oil, and medical marijuana? And also, is there a difference between medical marijuana and normal marijuana? Well, not normal, but you know, the stuff you buy down the road and go and smoke behind the bus stop?
Yeah, there is, definitely. So I guess that kind of brings me, there's a couple of questions in there. So I guess what most people are using cannabinoids or CBD for is for treating lots of different things. So I'm going to give you a real life example, and I'm going to use myself as this example. So I've got a very rare pituitary adenoma or brain tumor. It's located obviously right in my pituitary gland, and I've had it operated on before, and it's grown back. So my symptomatic problems prior, there was a lot of problems. I knew something was wrong. I was having growth in my hormones were growing into my mouth. I was also lactating after I'd finished breastfeeding my son. I was still lactating a year later. I had severe anxiety and depression and huge fatigue issues, fluid retention. There was a lot of severe headaches, lots of different things were occurring, and I knew something was wrong. I went to the doctor, and within 3 months I was into brain surgery, as they'd found this rare pituitary brain tumor in my brain. Now, I think medical professions do an amazing job at lots of different things, but I think one thing that I've found after being in a system for so many years is that whenever I've brought up what can I do to help or reduce the tumor, I've always been told, sorry, it's bad luck. You'll just have to go in and have brain surgery again. And for me, and I'm pretty sure for most people, brain surgery isn't something you go, oh yeah, great, let's do brain surgery, because anyone who's had some kind of surgery, there's always a recovery time, which for me was around 9 months to 1 year of recovering after brain surgery. The severe fatigue, there was lots of different things, but not only that, I had a 1.5-year-old to deal with at the same time. And I was always told there was nothing that could be done. So we decided to feel empowered rather than disempowered and look into ways that we could support my system healing moving forward, even though we were told there was nothing we could do. We researched into a lot of different products, and one of the main products which reaches the blood-brain barrier is CBD. Now, CBD also works with your endocannabinoid system. And what your endocannabinoid system, it was discovered in 1992 by scientists that were involved in a number of psychological processes. And one of the things that they found was that there's CB1 and CB2 receptors within the body, and everybody has an endocannabinoid system, and so do animals. So that's why some people will see things being sold for animal products. So CBD is working with your endocannabinoid system, which is your back of house system, which actually helps build your immunity. It helps your body repair. It does lots of different things. So when somebody takes CBD, so what CBD is, and what mainly most people will hear about, is that CBD can be really helpful in reducing inflammation, seizures, anxiety, improving sleep. It does not cause any intoxicating or euphoric effects, which the THC side of things do. In fact, it actually can reduce side effects of THC, such as nervousness. So there's lots of studies done on people being put onto CBD to help a range of different ailments. But for me, one of the things was it helped reduce or keep at bay my tumour. So I think that's one of the things that CBD has really helped me personally with. Now, I'm not a medical doctor and I don't prescribe anybody to take CBD for anything, but I'm just giving you my experience around CBD and what's happened with CBD and for us moving forward. So you cannot get high off it, and it's a phenomenal endocannabinoid that can definitely help a lot of people. I don't know if that helps answer a little bit of your question there, Kat.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a phenomenal journey that you've been through. Are you still taking CBD oil now?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that question, because currently you have to be prescribed to take CBD, any part of the industrial hemp plant, including, I should say the CBD component of the hemp plant. There are access issues around that. So at the moment, currently no, because current laws don't allow us to do that. And in Australia, anyway.
Am I right in saying that CBD oil, it's illegal, right, in Australia to produce and take?
Well, it's really grey. I think this is what this meeting that we've just been talking about has kind of tried to. There's a lot of misconception around that. So currently at the moment, there are clinics which you can actually go in and get legally prescribed medicinal cannabis. It could be CBD or it could be the THC. But you have to go through a doctor that is medically prescribing that. So that kind of answers that question. Yes, there is CBD and THC available on a black market side of things currently out there, which lots of people are accessing, because there's a lot of sick people out there, and it has been proven numerous times that it can help people, people with cancers and tumours that have been told on the sides of their faces that have been rubbing CBD oil on there, and then all of a sudden they've been told there's nothing that can be done for them, and you can see it's disappeared. So to answer your question, if I'm going to say on the books, you need to go and see a medical doctor who can actually legally prescribe medicinal cannabis.
And so what's the difference between medicinal cannabis and CBD oil? So they're the same thing? Yes.
Yes. So I'm just going to read a little bit out of here from a little excerpt I've got. So plant-derived CBD and THC are both chemically similar to our body's natural occurring endocannabinoids, allowing them to interact with our cannabinoid receptors. The receptor interaction affects release of neurotransmitters in the brain, but two compounds have slightly different mode of action. So when they're talking about medicinal cannabis, they're giving it a broad umbrella. Medicinal cannabis is CBD and medicinal cannabis is THC. So CBD and THC share a number of medicinal benefits, both providing relief from the same conditions, different things. So anxiety might have one type of CBD. Someone who's got pain from cancer, for example, might need to take THC to be able to sleep and for pain relief. Whereas the CBD might be for someone who has anxiety and those types of ailments. You cannot get, I just want to reiterate that you cannot get stoned off CBD. THC is the one that people have been using to relieve pain and to help with a number of conditions. So they are very different. However, that's where I think the misconception's coming from, is it's under the same umbrella. And that's probably where we're getting a lot of confusion in the market. Some people come to us going, you know, that shampoo bar that you've got over there, am I going to get high off that when they put it on their skin? And I'm going, no, you're not going to get high off that. It's hemp seed oil. It's very different to extracted CBD and extracted THC. So, yeah, there's a lot of demystifying to do, but I think, look, people are really open to it, and I love that.
In your opinion, what sort of education needs to happen and what sort of laws need to change to make this a more accepted and household available product?
Sure. I think what needs to happen around the education side of things, it just needs to be a little demystified. I think part of our issue is that hemp actually, in America, hemp is actually weed. And in Australia, hemp is industrial hemp, which you cannot get high off. So I think what we've got is a bit of an English language or American language, kind of a little bit of that we need to kind of smooth out a little bit there. But I also think that we just need education around the fact that I would love to have a hemp plant sitting in my office. But from a DPI or a governmental perspective, I'm not allowed to have that here. I would have to have a special license in order to, which I have. We have got not a medicinal cannabis. We have a hemp growing license, which we grow industrial hemp with. But I still couldn't have it here because I know that what would happen is people would break into my office. They would try and steal that plant to take it to sell it to people thinking it was pot. They're very different. So I think what we need is it to become more in the mainstream and started to associate it in our body care products, in the food that we're eating, in what we're thinking about hemp, and actually starting to get it out there into mainstream media going, hemp is different, and these are the amazing things that we can do with it. There's so many amazing things. I think once we start normalizing that, it'll become just everyday conversation. Hey, I'm eating hemp seed oil, or yeah, I'm taking hemp hearts, or whatever it might be. And I think it's really just having really good conversations and asking amazing questions like what you've just asked around hemp and how we can help the Australian hemp industry grow, really.
And so talking about growing hemp, how challenging is it? How do you grow it? Do you have fields and fields of hemp out the back there?
Yeah, so we've got around about 3 hectares that we grow. And the reason why we only grow 3 hectares is the fact that we hand seed. So we actually physically seed, and people can see a video of that on our Instagram and also on our website. But we hand plant and we hand pick all of our hemp, which is kind of actually crazy, but we do that anyway. So the way that it works is people can actually use it or incorporate it into a crop that they've already got. So for example, if you grow, what's one thing, oats, for example, you might want to put hemp as a rotational crop as part of that. And you would sow it in a way that you would need a specific harvester to put in the seed at specific intervals, and then you would need, it needs water and it needs love and all these types of things. We're very lucky in our region that we have amazing waterfall or rainfall, which we don't need to irrigate, and we grow all of our hemp organically. We don't spray anything. Yes, we have a few little furry caterpillar friends that come along, and they're beautiful fat caterpillars who love our hemp, but actually it's okay because our hemp seeds that we actually get, the quality of it is what really we're after, and that's what we're putting back into our products as well. So growing hemp just needs the right soil conditions. It needs to be planted. People think, oh, it's a weed, you just chuck it in the ground. Yes and no. There's a little bit of a science around it, and you do need the right types of soil and irrigation. However, I think at the end of the day, the more people that grow hemp and the more people who can have their own plants to do that and extract it, and it becomes a bit more mainstream, which is quite exciting, hopefully, for the industry moving forward at some point. But yeah, it's not easy to grow, but we love it. It's an amazing plant when you're walking through and you're just smelling the hemp and feeling the energy that comes off the plants. It's pretty amazing, and what it does for our soil is even better. So yeah, it's a phenomenal plant for us to have as part of what we're doing.
And you have to have a license to plant and
yes,
hemp. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's integral to not just get any seed. You have to have a license, and we, in order to buy seed to grow for when we're planting, we need to show people that we've got our hemp license and that they're able to be our hemp. Generally, they will have a license as well, but you get a license from the DPI. I think when we got our license, it was very early on. And I think it might have taken maybe 2 months to get a license. I think the wait time is anywhere between 6 to 8 months now to get a hemp license. It's just, there's so many people wanting to grow hemp out there. But I think anyone who is looking to do that really needs to make sure that they've got a market first, because hemp is amazing. Everyone wants to grow it, but what are you going to do with it? And how are you going to get that out there? Otherwise, you can lose a lot of money. And we've seen a lot of businesses go down by going, yeah, it's great, let's grow hemp. And then they haven't really thought about the end market of that. And it's an easy crop, but also you need to have a bit of strategy around it. We've researched for a long time to do that.
Yeah, good for you. What do you think the future of hemp in Australia is?
What do I think? What do I think and what do I want might be two questions there. I really think, and I really hope, and I guess as a country, it'd be really nice to see a lot more people growing hemp or knowing about the product and how they can value add on a farming level. Now, we've got a lot of droughts and a lot of things happening within Australia, and I think if we can mitigate some of that through growing hemp as a rotational crop, how amazing would that be for our farmers who are out there struggling and actually needing another crop in order to generate income for their families? And I think if there can be more people doing that, and we're able to do that, then how amazing would that be? What I would love to see is, and I might get a little bit controversial here, is, and some people might be a little bit against this, but I'm just going to give a little bit of a thing here, is that if Australians, if we actually think we're quite an entrepreneurial type of country, and I think, I understand the elections just happened and that there's a big thing around the Adani coal mine and all those types of things. And I think, if we actually take a little step back and we look at the things we've done in the past and we look to the future, hemp could actually be one of those things. It could actually create a huge economy for mum and dad Australians all over our country, not degrade the land, not create any animosity. It would create jobs and employment if it was done correctly. And what I would love to see is that we're actually not looking at an unsustainable economy, which I on my personal feeling around that is that mining and creating those things that will destroy the land will only create jobs for an infinite, very small period of time. When we actually look on a future planning, hemp can actually do that for a very long time and actually start to mitigate some of those changes around climate and what we can do for our future. And I think one of the main things for us is we've got a son, he's 8 years old. He comes up to the hemp field and he helps us pick the hemp and plant the hemp, and you could talk to him about hemp, and he doesn't know any of these other things around people can smoke it and it's illegal and all this stuff, and he'll go to school and he'll talk about hemp. This is their future. It's their future that we're looking after. And for us, this is all part of that educational component. It has to start somewhere. And as a grassroots business, we're just doing it and just going, if we can start creating some economy in our region, imagine all the other regions that could do that. The pie is big. It doesn't have to be just a couple of big multinationals making a lot of money. It could be hundreds of us making money and having enough money in there to be part of that pie. And I think, sorry, I'm just on my soapbox a little bit there, but I kind of feel like getting a little bit controversial and actually starting to create a little bit of movement by supporting people who are growing hemp, but also buy their hemp products and put it on your Instagram page and just get it out there, it becomes normal and it creates a new industry for Australians to actually thrive, which is so important.
I love that. And so what would be the best way to support you and your journey?
Oh, I think just being able to, so one of the things I think we struggle with as a hemp business is that Facebook and Instagram block our sponsored ads. So at the moment, even if I was to promote my hemp shampoo and conditioner bars, I cannot do that. They've blocked my account to the point where I cannot promote anything. All of my reach on my Facebook and Instagram page, even getting people to sign up to our newsletter, is actually all through organic reach. Now, I don't know if people know that there's a lot of money that people spend on marketing. And one of the things that the hemp industry or hemp businesses at the moment in Australia can't do is we cannot promote our posts. And that's really, really disheartening because one, we're creating education. The other thing, obviously, we're trying to sell product, but we're not in it. You know, we're wanting to create a bit of momentum and a bit more of that educational component. So by people supporting us, it's going, hey, look what we've bought. It's doing reviews. It's following our page. It's signing up to our newsletters, and it's supporting anyone who in Australia produces Australian hemp seed products. I think that's the only way we can really do it, because Facebook and Instagram think that we're promoting an illegal product, which we're not. It's industrial hemp. So that's one way people can help us.
Yeah, well, that's easily done as well. The power of social media. You've just got to get the word out there, and that's one thing that everybody can do. Everybody has a mobile phone in their hand with Instagram and Facebook on there. And I'm all for supporting small Australian businesses as well. I think that's so important. We all need to rally behind those who are trying to make a difference in this world, and instead of supporting the big corporates.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're just trying to get in there and do it. It's been an interesting and long journey for us, but I feel like the movement is coming. And I think in our region in particular, we've got an amazing bunch of community people who support us. And I think when you keep getting encouraged and people come up and go, when you're in a business and you're seeing it all the time, and people go, man, you must be so proud of what you're doing. And then you kind of reflect and you go, actually, it is amazing. And every time I go, the hemp wall behind me, and we're going to build a hemp wall in our office, and people are like, we'll come and help. And you get like 10, 20 people who want to come and help, and you're going, okay, we only need 2. But I think it's all part of that. It builds the excitement, and people want to be a part of something that creates value. And that's what's exciting about what we do. And I'm sure there's a lot of other businesses out there doing something similar as well.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on my podcast, educating us on all things hemp. I will make sure I will put a link to your Instagram, Facebook, website below. So those of you who are listening, it'll be in the show notes. It'll be on the description of the YouTube. And for those of you who have come from Instagram, you'll be able to find the Hemp Collective page through the post, which is on my page. So thank you so much, Maxine, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no worries. I'm so happy to have a chat today. And anybody who's wanting more information, please get in touch. We're always very keen to have a chat, and sign up to our newsletter and follow us at Hemp Collective Byron. We'd love to see you on there. Thanks so much, Kat. I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thanks for listening, guys, to another episode of the Chronicles of Fitness. Please make sure you subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and I'll see you next week. See ya.